Hello everyone. I'm Sawmyadeep Ghosh. Staying in Bangalore for last 3 years, working with school students very intensely, trying to bring a little bit of more industry orientation into them, and running an organization with some visionaries. I work with an organization called Yuvipep, and today I am here trying to understand how the CSR and partnership is going to be impacting in future. We understand that in the digital India age, access is very scalable, but the outcome, yet it is not. We understand that content delivery is very easy. We can give a lot of content, but when we are thinking about capacity building for the future, not as a workforce, but also as a generation of employment. On that basis, I really want to have a discussion with all the three guests we have today. First question I'll ask ma'am, Nambiar ma'am. She's from Cognizant and work in multiple different projects. So if I ask you, ma'am, what is that? When we see that online courses, online portals are helping students to upskill themselves. But when we look at the data of this kind of portal, which is free of cost, CSR funded, properly reaching the kids, 10 to 15% is the completion rate of the courses. So how do you think, ma'am, that as an organization, when you are doing such kind of CSR initiative, what is the future scope you are thinking about? What are the solutions that you are thinking, which other organizations who are present here can also learn from?
So are you focusing on the online courses that?
Yes.
CSR?
The sign-ups you have.
Okay, sign-ups. So sign-ups, thank you for asking me that question, but the sign-ups initiative that Cognizant has is to upskill around 1 million students or career aspirants by the year 2026-2027. But is that restricted to online learning? No. I've been a part of many programs that have involved in the formats that are not just online learning, but also visiting the field. And I'm a person from the field, so there are a lot of NGO centers across Bangalore where so many programs as a part of the employee volunteering is also an important part of Cognizant along with the foundation that we have. So it is a holistic, approach towards learning. But more than learning, and like you said about the completion rate is only 15 to 20%. That is for online, but does that meet the requirements of the end result that we are expecting? If I say that 1 million, let's come down a little bit and say that 100 people I want to be a part of this career, guidance program, or call it employability, call it job readiness. Is the first person who enrolled in this program is equal in knowledge to the 100% who is, finishing it up? That is the question. But can that happen through online? I would say no. If corporates are involved in creating online portals, LMS systems, they have to go beyond that. Sometimes they will have to bring the students from various localities for a corporate visit. I have been working with Bosco in organizing so many corporate visits in the Kochi office, Bangalore office, and various other offices in Coimbatore and all that. And why I'm saying this is, unless and until you tell a child or a student that you need to upscale or you need to upgrade your dreaming benchmark, they would not understand what they are capable of. One student, I remember asking me, why these buildings are so huge, why they are made of glasses, and what is inside them. So this is something that was seen by that child for the first time. The child is coming from a village called Manchetti near Hosur. So unless and until I bring that child and give a real demo of what a corporate looks like, he or she would not be able to dream big. So should I restrict to the online course? No. it should scale beyond that.
Thank you. In this case, ma'am, I just want to know one more part. The metrics that you are considering for understanding the impact of the CSR partnership you are making in the educational field, what are the metrics that the CSR partners also should keep in mind while they are delivering their outcome to the end consumers or end users, like the students in this case?
The reporting part.
What are the metrics that you would love to make sure that these are getting implemented properly?
Coming to the metrics, I would say, like I said in the first answer, is the first person who is enrolled in your course having the equal knowledge as 100%. 100%. So metrics is after completion is there, the completion part is there. What is the graph between the starting and the beginning in terms of their personality, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of the, motivation. But when we talk about a program when it comes to skilling or education, it is also important who are the beneficiaries, where are they coming from? Are they coming from a city? Are they coming from a place that is like far away from Bangalore? Are they coming from somewhere in North Karnataka, right? So there the motivations are different. Motivations is something that whenever we plan a metrics, that metrics should depend on the geography, the psychology of the students, and their conditioning from where they are coming from. So at times I might have to, maybe in one group, we might have to work on a group of students where we may have to start convincing the parents. So can I have my metrics there working? The motivation part, is a student motivated? And various, I think in the previous session, Dean sir said, the educational is just the, ornamental thing as of now, we have become rapid right now. But beyond the education, it's easy to get qualification, but what the skill set are they bringing? Maybe a database that have the initial skill set, the current skill set, aspired skill set, because everybody, even after finishing the course, the student may think that, this is not what I want to do. So as a database, database of aspirations, database of what the capability is, and database of what you can offer as a corporate social responsibility partner. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So we got a lot of understanding on the metrics, how our students focused, particularly in the age of AI, how student-focused curriculum can be built in both online and offline mode to understand the progression of the student as well. I'll come to Mr. Gopal as well. And Wadhwani Foundation has done so much like their implementation in the education and the employability generation in the people. So I just love to know about a little bit of story on how these are built. And I'll also ask a little bit of questions in the formation that employability generation courses that you are providing. What is the success rate and how you're measuring that? The progression, wage progression, it's happening, or the retention of those employees are happening, how you are planning to measure that?
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, congratulations to Don Bosco for the 20th year. And prior for the previous panel, was hoping lunch will be happening after that, but we are now between you and lunch. So we'll try and wrap this up quickly. But thank you for inviting us here. We've been working with Don Bosco for the last few years now. And we're really proud to be working with Don Bosco. We work across 40 centers, 50 centers in India, and we are hoping to work across other centers. And while to your question, I'm from the skilling side, in which I talk about the board. But quickly, to give you a 1-minute introduction of all our initiatives, what we are focused on from the foundation is jobs and placements. Our mission and everything we measure ourselves is how many jobs are we able to create, or how many people have been able to get jobs. So these are the two things. Various people try to become entrepreneurs. So that's something that we've been focusing a lot on. We recently have embarked on a project wherein we're also working with small enterprises or startups who want to scale. So can we do something for that to scale and create more jobs? So that's the other thing that we're working on. The other thing we're doing on the job creation side is on innovation. Wadhwani Foundation is committing around $150 million over the next 5 years to create innovation centers in leading universities in India focused on the next big things. Like, for example, in IIT Kanpur, we are building around AI. In IIT Chennai, they're looking at quantum, IAC, etc. So across the country, we're creating these hubs where we are focused on funding people who have an idea, who have a patent. How can they take it to a product? So that's called translation research. And typically, money is not there at that time. Money comes in only when they already have a product, and funding comes in at that point in time. So we are funding there. So that's the other thing that we're doing. All this to create jobs. Now, coming to my role and my colleagues who are in this room here, we are focused on skilling. And that's what we've been working with Don Bosco for. Two things that we are trying to do. One is we have created a platform which takes into account AI that a lot of the panelists talked about last time. So we have content. The way we describe our platform is as follows. We have content. In our case, what we are currently offering is what we call employability skills. So videos, pedagogy around that. The second layer is what we call AI services. So we want our students to prepare for an interview, develop a resume, practice a pitch. So these are AI agents that we've created. So that's the second layer. And then the third layer is what we're calling human services, where we do master classes, where we're doing career mentoring. So supposing, like she was saying, some of them want to get first time they're looking at a building, which is so big. So many of our beneficiaries are saying, what will this first job look like? Can you tell me more about it? And they don't want to hear from people like us. They want to hear from somebody who has just graduated and got a job. So all that comes under the human services layer. So these are the three layers. We call this our Genie AI platform. We offer it to our partners like Don Bosco, who adopt this within their pedagogy on employability skills. So that's our big focus area. The second thing we're doing, to answer your quick question, is we're also saying that some of these students may not want to take up jobs. So can they become micro entrepreneurs? So that's a new area of focus for us, saying that a student, can they become self-employed? Can they get on to, start up something on Urban Clap? Can they become micro entrepreneurs? So that's the second area of focus for us that we're piloting this year. So that's a very quick summary of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving us a wider understanding about how the foundation is working right now. I'll come to ma'am. With your experience in the CSR world, we talk a lot about that CSR is kind of charity and it's like a small kind of project, pilot project we do. But to you, ma'am, my question will be how to take into for a long-term impact. Any small project, any organization, those who have not started CSR, maybe today we can, those students or other people who want to start their organization inclined with CSR, and how they should find a way to create their pilot project to a long-term impact. I'd love to know from you.
Thank you for the question. So I think in India, CSR, philanthropy, it's very cultural. If you look at any of our festivals, we always have an element of giving something for charity. So CSR wasn't very new to India, and India was the first country in the world to mandate large companies to spend 2% of their profits on CSR. So I think we embrace the law very, very closely. It was not that only after the law that companies started doing CSR. We have great examples in the country where this is a part of doing business. So only after the law came into picture, it became more of like a license to operate. But I think this was embedded in the business model for many of the large groups we heard of. And so naturally, there's a way of thinking that, when we have, why was the corporate sector, I'm just taking a little step back, that why were we even invited to participate in the social development story of the country? Because the not-for-profit sector wasn't able to scale to the level which the government wanted in terms of the penetration of the skills. And that is why expertise from the business was expected. So that was really the intent of why CSR grew as an entire stream. And I can say I'm as old as the law, because that's when I started my career within CSR from the military. And I've seen it evolving over the past now I was used to saying 10 years. I just realized it's 30. And so long-term thinking will only happen when you actually work at the grassroots and you realize that if you come with a great program, you come with a lot of investment and thinking you will make wonders in a certain community, it just may not work. And therefore, it has to be a partnership. So when you have an intent to do something from the community, I think that's really your starting point. And then you start working with the little outer circle, which is the local administration. Then you look at, what are the not-for-profit organizations here. You learn a lot from them, even if you don't work with them. And then, of course, the government schemes and the corporate. So I think an ecosystem needs to be created. That's something that really helps a state. And what I had realized when we do our CSR programs is we cannot work in isolation. So I was talking more on the conceptualization stage, but even when you work, and I've had the privilege of traveling to the remotest villages of the country, worked in Naxal-affected regions and geopolitically impacted regions, unless you have the community on your side, first of all, you don't even understand them. You don't make any sense to them. So it is a challenge. I work with a very large corporate now, and our skilling program runs in 160 countries, and it's one program. But it's contextualized in these many countries, and and especially in a country like India, it's like running many, many countries in itself. So culture context, economic context, and just focusing, I think for today, we need to really wear a hat that the technology divide that we are talking about with AI setting in doesn't really become the next economic divide. So I can talk more to what we are doing at IBL to solve this, but I think the genesis of this entire issue would be like we have to look at these data points when we think of long term.
Thank you. Thank you for the insight. I'll openly ask one question to all of the members over here. We are talking about partnership. We are talking about a partnership which is going to make our country, make the CSR initiatives much more sustainable. But in any kind of partnership, we observe or experience a lot of friction from both sides. Maybe from the corporate end, there is a friction, there is a different demand. From the non-profit end also there is a different demand. So how to tackle or what are the major issues that you find in this kind of friction situation, and what are the things that you prioritize then so that the upcoming non-profit or upcoming organization can also take a insight from there as well? To all different kind of person from different field, I love to know from you guys.
Okay, I could talk to the two examples that we are working on very, very hands-on. And so I don't know how many of you would know that CBSE has an AI curriculum in grades 11 and 12, and that's made by my team. So I think that is an example of how industry comes into picture. So interestingly, there's an IBM study, there's an IBM Institute of Business Value. And today, the skills that we have at workplace, 57% of those will be redundant by 2030. I'll give you a second to take that in. And so my next question is, what are we skilling our people for? So I think that's a lot that we have to think when we talk about skilling is the future is unpredictable. We are only skilling for today, but are these learners going to work today? They are not, right? And even when you talk of AI, the conversation started about 10 years back. It did really pick up. But in the past less than 10 months, you heard of AI, you heard of Gen AI, you heard of AI assistants, Gen AI, physical AI, embedded AI, it goes on, right? So the way the workplace is evolving, is our education system evolving? It cannot. Academia, it is very challenging for academia to keep pace with that. And that's where business has to step in, because there are people already who are working on date. And that skilling becomes a part of the survival, I would say. And how do you take that out to the community? So that's how we work with CBSE to create content. And with AICT, we work on internships. So those partnerships, when NGOs, they see value, I don't see friction. I see a lot of requests for partnerships.
That's a great insight. That's a great from Gopal sir from your end. What's the friction?
Sure. We work only with partners. So of course there will be partners like Don Bosco, whom I don't think we have any friction. I'm kidding. I'm sure there's some friction, but also we have others whom we have challenges with. So I think there are two kinds of partners. We work with government institutions and we work with private institutions. I think the model that we adopt is that whatever we give is completely free, but we want that institution to use our platform and teach the students. So they need to bring in the faculty needs to be trained by us. So in many institutions, one of the weak points we find is that the faculty is not able to teach the employability skills that we're talking about. The employability skills is not just communication, it's about thinking. It's like what we said is required in the AI age. Design thinking, how do we look at problem solving differently? All of those things come into our employability skills program. So we make, on our platform makes it very easy for faculty to teach. It's more, the faculty needs to be a facilitator, not really teach. But still we find challenges because in many government institutions, for example, the faculty is so either overworked or they're too busy doing what they're supposed to be doing that they're, if they're getting forced into this, they lose interest. They don't do it. So that's one of the challenges that we are facing specifically there. I think that's something that we're working on. How do we motivate them? What do we need to do? So that's one, I would say, is the biggest challenge. The second thing, just to build on what Shipra is saying, we also work with the government on several areas. So for example, recently with the Ministry of Education, we've launched something called Career Advisor, which is for school children 10, 11, 12th, where they are getting an exposure of what career they can adapt, not based on a psychometric test, but based on passions, based on what they're interested in. So things like that, they'll get a set of career options with videos, what is good about it, what is bad about it. Last panel, we had drone person talking. So for example, what is a drone technician all about? What is good about it? What is bad about it? So all these things are there. We launched it. We just launched it around 4-5 months back. Already around 200,000 students have downloaded the app and done that. So there again, the challenge is fine. This is done by us. We've done it working with the ministry, but there has to be a career counselor who has to sit with a kid and actually have that conversation. And the government has a budget for 7,000 career counselors, what they told us across the states. But right now they've just hired 500 counselors. So how do we get them to do that, right? So we can create all this, but unless it's being used, like she said, on the ground, if it is not being used, then it's a challenge. So those are some of the challenges that we face.
Definitely. See, when we listen to these kind of stories, we sometimes feel, since I'm part of this kind of education functionality, I feel that it was always there. Any solution like this government and private player coming together, the friction that is happening as a solution for the motivation of the facilitator as well, like how does the person who is teaching them, how are you planning to motivate them? Is there any solutions that you want to suggest to all the listeners over here?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer, and we are also thinking. We also keep thinking about it. I think first of all, we have to really think what is in it for that facilitator, for example, to do this, right? So we have, for example, in the room today, we have Lily, who heads our faculty program. Lily, where are you? Yeah, maybe you can raise your hands. So she's the one who teaches her team trains all the faculty. So they do a 3-day program where they train. So there it's about getting them to motivate that why they should be doing this, right? So we're trying to use a carrot approach there. Sometimes we then go to the institution and say, look, your faculty is, because we are able to monitor what's happening in the class through our platform. So we also try to use a stick saying, look, this facilitator is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we're trying different things. But ultimately, I feel unless the motivation comes from the facilitator that, look, if I do a good job, this kid is going to benefit, it's going to be really tough. So I think all institutions, somehow we need to together work on it. I don't think there's any easy solution. I don't know.
I can add on to that. So you talked about the friction between two partners, CSR and NGO. It's real when two people are working, two entities with different experience, different values, different motives, but the objective is same, helping the people in need. So here, let's come back to the basics, from the signing of the agreement. So the important thing is that which NGO face, I was thinking about the risks that NGO faces in a long-term partnership. So here we can think about
The reporting pattern, which is usually a headache for NGOs, but it is very important. So when the reporting pattern happens, it is a compliance for the corporate, but on an NGO, you have to do it because you're getting the funding from the corporates and the reporting pattern has to happen. So how do we sort this out, avoid the risk? Maybe having a strong reporting mechanism, how that can happen when partners are in align. So NGOs have goal 1, 2, 3, 4. And the CSR corporate might have goal 1, 2, 3, 4. And you should know that the corporate strategies and policies are ever evolving. Will that change in the particular project? Maybe next year, if I am having funding a project, maybe my evolving policies change or affect this particular project. What is the backup plan? What is the plan B? So having a strong mechanism that should be mutually agreeable by the NGO, by the corporate, and that is where we should work on a transparency-based reporting mechanism, because I have seen NGOs which are dependent on one corporate partner for a very long-term project, and something happens, and over a period of time, organizations are ever evolving, changes happen, and a funding is stopped, and the entire project goes down south. And who's get the affected most? The beneficiaries on the ground. So what is your exit plan? So having an exit plan is very, very important, because a long-term commitment, when it breaks, it's like a long-term breakup. It pains a lot. So what is your exit strategy? What is your reporting mechanism that is going to show the progress of what you wanted as an NGO and how you're meeting the goals of the corporate? So here we can, kind of reduce the friction, if not avoid it.
From that perspective, actually, I really want to know about the experiences that you are having. I don't know how have tackled, and what are the manners that you had when you faced an underperforming project that is happening? What is that you want people to do? Because a lot of beneficiaries are there, and we have promised them a long-term impact through the journey they are going to have with the organization. How to tackle that scenario from a perspective of a corporate?
All right. And I think Sir spoke about, the trainings part, training to the beneficiary. And that should not be, not just be the end beneficiary, maybe working with the NGOs, maybe empowering the train-the-trainer programs, which are very, very important. And I have worked with more than 100 NGOs in across 6 different states. So I can say that there is a lot of scope of upskilling within your NGO partners. And being a technology company, Cognizant is running a lot of programs for the professionals who are working in an NGO. Unless and until we have a strong operational capabilities with an NGO that we are working with, strong, people who are upskilled, who are updated, and if we have leverage of technology, we have so many subject matter experts, so many teams that are into machine learning, AI, and all. Why not leverage them and have more train-the-trainer programs for the NGO professionals so that they are equipped, they are updated with the ground realities, and they can, upfront tell the corporates, so this is going to work, this is not going to work when it comes to the ground reality.
Yeah, from our perspective, I think we have a selection process. So we don't work with all partners. So if we believe that the partner is not willing to commit, skin in the game, then we politely tell them that you can use our online platform. You are asking, right? We also have an online platform where the outcomes may not be that great because, like you said, there's dropout rate. Learning online, completely online is always challenging. So the core program that we have is where we work with, say, Don Bosco in an integrated fashion. But if some institute says, look, I can't commit, then we say, okay, sure, your students can use our online platform. So that's one approach that we take. I think the other critical thing is just going back to your first question on outcomes. For us, outcomes is placements. So we had this challenge, right? Last year, a couple of years back, we've been training and we are hoping that they get placed, and we are depending on the institution for that to happen. And we find that in reality, that's in many cases doesn't happen. So because there is issues in the ground in terms of various information gaps. So this year we are doing an experiment where we are also we are talking to companies directly and any company out here would love to reach out to you. Understand what your demand is for the next 4 quarters. You're putting it on we've created a platform, so we're putting it onto that. And then telling the training institutions that, look, this is the demand which is coming, not just right now, but for the next 4 quarters. You need to skill according to this, and you need to match your students to this demand. So that's a new thing we are trying. And so there again, we want to work with partners who are willing to work with us, focused on placements. So this is the approach that we're trying to take.
That's a great initiative actually. Understanding this is what we do when we seek for job, right? We try to understand what the job role. We go to AI, ask them what are the things we need to learn. That's the same thing you are trying to do with the other organization. Thank you very much for providing such opportunity for the future scopes. What about you, ma'am?
In 2021, we identify the problem statement we will work as a company. And our CEO announced that IBM will scale 30 million people by 2030. And why did we choose it? Because we identified that one of the biggest problems businesses are facing today is the talent gap. The academia, the students that pass out of the academic institutions are not job ready. And therefore, there has to be a bridge. And that is the bridge that we provide through our skilling initiatives. We have a platform that has more than 1,000 courses created by IBM, absolutely free of cost for the underserved. It provides courses that are accessible anytime, anywhere, that range from not only AI, Gen AI, you name it, to even how to appear for a job interview. And we want to serve the needs of the learner, so we start around high school. Typically, I've seen grade 8 onward students access it. So there's a segment, if you go on skillsbuild.org, that's the platform that we invest in heavily. And there's a segment for high school students. There's a segment for higher educational institutions. For that segment, we have courses that are slightly higher level. They can also download more than 700 softwares of IBM free of cost if they have an institutional ID and practice on them real time. And then there's a third segment, which we call IDEF learners, that is also focused on the ITIs and the vocational education system in the Indian context, abroad community colleges, etc. So why we do all this, what we also understand is faculty development is such an important component. So there is a segment even for the educators. You can, undergo these courses. Now, we know that just having a platform on a website is not going to scale these 30 million people. The execution is what happens to not-for-profit partners. Within India, recently we announced we will scale 5 million by 2030 in AI, cybersecurity, and quantum. Because these are the skills of the future. And there is a huge gap. And I'm just back from the India AI Summit. AI is everywhere, right? And but are we ready for it? That is the question. And that is not only a question for the newbie or the person in an ITI or in a college. It's a question for all of us, actually. I just told you the stats around the skills. So I think learning has to be a lifelong process, certainly. As we skill our learners, we also have to upskill. So I think one of the most key skills for the 21st century is the ability to learn, unlearn, relearn, right? And so adaptability to the changing scenario, the way things are changing, teachers are changing so much. I interact with teachers as a part of my job, and they are creating lesson plans using AI. They know children would have used AI for their assignments. How do they assess that? How do they identify plagiarism? One of my own colleagues who's in the CSR domain, I met her day before yesterday at the summit, and was sharing that her daughter in her master's, her thesis got rejected and not hers, an entire batch because of plagiarism. So, and it wasn't actually plagiarism for some of them, but the tool the college had selected kept popping up. So, okay, let me ask you a question. What is the fuel of AI? We all talk about AI, but what is the fuel of AI? Data. Where is our data coming from? Do we question that? I think that is also a very, very important skill. We have to tell our learners that when you get an output, what you put in, you will get out, right? But where is the data coming from? That is such a key thing, because that data can be riddled with bias. It can be, inclined towards a certain set of people, the color of the skin, gender, anything. We know of examples where hiring in a company eliminated an entire gender, from hiring. So the lot of things, I know I'm wavering a little bit from your question, but then coming back to, how does it really all tie together as we try to solve these problems? Does that answer?
Yeah, definitely. So, ma'am, to all of you, last question came from Major Gupta as well. He mentioned during the conversation that the skill development, employability generation, it should be without thinking of the age we should implement, as I mentioned. And I work in that zone, in the middle school, high school zone. And I remember there is an internship program we provide. It's called Generation Innovator Internship Program, where we hire students, just like it happens in a corporate. We take interview, then they work with us for a few weeks. Work means real work, not like creating a prototype. They are doing media work with us, branding, marketing, all. I remember two of the research interns did in a district, Kolar district, and in school they tried to understand the career counseling part. How much the students know what they want to do, why they want to do. So that part is totally not there. Even if in a private school, English medium school, where parents are hoping for a better aspiration in their life. But it's like 1% to 2% more have heard about this word called career counseling. We're talking about students from 9, 10, and of course their parents also might have not been able to guide them in such areas. So, and that perspective, I really want to understand now what is your future and planning for the school students, because school students are going to change the mindset because they have never seen a life without AI. The previous generation, they have never seen a life without internet, but this generation, the kid who is born today, maybe 5 years back as well, were using AI like anything. And what about them? What is the future plan for them, and working with the CSR partners to create more impact on that?
Okay, I heard your question, but I will, come a little below to the base. How many of the students are able to use AI? That is one question. Let's talk about the graduates. Let's come down a little bit. How many school students are able to use internet? Then coming back to this talking about city. Now I'll go back to like I said, I'm a person from the field, so I'll talk about the field. India is diverse. We have cities, we have small towns, we have larger towns, we have villages, and then we have rural villages, and then we have rural remote villages. So when we are designing a curriculum, and our achievement, benchmark is that every student should be able to learn by using AI. Somewhere there is a lot of gap. If I compare it to a student sitting somewhere, let's say Ladakh, it's too rural. So what is when we do corporate partnership and the NGOs, so at times corporates need to be wise enough to choose the NGOs that are based and are diverse. It is very easy to choose an NGO around Bangalore, or someone who is working in Mangalore or Mysore or a small town. But how many of our corporates are brave enough to go to rural and the remote places where sending a student to the school is a task to convince the parents? I have worked with students and I have seen, while giving an offer letter, the parent says, I only have one girl. And if I send her to Bangalore or Mangalore, what is the guarantee that she won't get into wrongdoings, and, I don't want to lose her. So one offer letter rejected is not a problem, but one career lost is a big question. So at times, when we think about empowering students with AI, we have to come back and look for the motivations of what students have. And maybe AI is a skill, prompting questions is a skill, but a lot has to be worked on the psychology and the motivation of the students, and before that, of the parent.
Thank you for those pointers. Very importantly, ma'am has said that how we are identifying whom we are going to provide the benefit, and according to that, the curriculum should be provided. What about you, sir?
Yeah.
What's your point on
There's
that?
2 points I want to make for answer your question. One is we are definitely leveraging AI in 2-3 areas. One is to create the content itself. So now we can do it in multiple languages. So our employability skills is not just taught in English; it's taught in different local languages in India, which is a very good thing, right? Because if they don't know English, shouldn't they still learn about problem solving and in all of those things? So that's one thing that we've done. So for that earlier, our problem was we had to spend a lot of money to create it in new languages. But now because of AI, the cost of creating that has come down dramatically for us. So we're able to scale. The second thing we've done is that we are using various tools, like I said, like AI tutor, interview coach, etc., which allows people to practice on their own. Now, one of the challenges that Shilpa was also mentioning, Lakshmi was mentioning, was I think the usage is still a challenge among our beneficiaries. We're not talking about the high good school kids, right? Many of our beneficiaries are still not comfortable using AI tools. So that's something we need to really watch out for. And we are working on that. So that's the second thing I want to bring out. Now, coming to your point on career counseling, I told you that recently we've launched with the Government of India. I don't know how many of you know this, but when we worked with them to figure out how many job roles we should put, can you guess how many job roles we put into the career counselor? Anyone?
600, 700,
1800.
1800.
So we have 1800 roles. Of course, do you want to guess which is the most popular one that all students choose?
Engineer.
It's still IAS, engineering, government service. So they don't even look at all the other careers yet. But we're hoping that will change, because through this kind of thing, we want them to change. But I think just a tool is not good enough. You need career counselors on the ground. I think till we solve that problem, while they will use the app. So the way they've configured it is, they will put that information, they'll get a report, they can share it with their parents, they can share it with the counselor and get guidance. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. That's how we have made it. But I think it's very important for career counselors to be there, to funded by the government, who can help the students. Otherwise, it will not be.
If we ask to Gopal sir that Wadhwani Foundation, if they find some good talent who will go around different district and go to all the government schools, and at least in a month once or at least twice in a year they're going there and boosting the career counseling understanding in the kids, is Wadhwani Foundation is going to support that?
Sure.
Thank you very much. This is because this is as lively I have felt. Even if parents are spending so much money just in a hope of sending them to a better school, still they are far away from the career counseling understanding. So must learn. What about you for the school students?
Responses between the lunch and okay. Two quick things that the government is doing. CBSE has actually they have a director of skilling when they are creating content, and we work very closely with the Ministry of Education. So that's a lot of work that is happening from a school education level. A lot of government schools are also affiliated with CBSE. At the higher institutional level, AICT has a 60-hour curriculum on internships. And of course, our courses also go as a part of it. We have a partnership with AICT. We are setting up an AI lab inside of AICT headquarters to provide access to tier 3, tier 4 colleges who can remotely access, participate in hackathons and graduate to access the physical lab. At another level, Government of India has opened up for industry to create skills-based courses for the youth. And there's a body called NCVET that goes through the content of these courses. They have a council that ratifies these courses. So companies can apply and get the awarding, assessing, body status. We did get that back in January, and some of our courses are, so you actually, if learners do those courses, it gets added to the academic bank of credits. So I would say a lot of work is happening at the government level. By the time it trickles down, it will take time. But even for ITIs, AI education is important, and with Ministry of Skills Development, we are working to skill the instructors in ITIs, which is such a big problem, along with the DGT, Department General of Training, on skilling the instructors on ID. So I think a lot, these are, drop in the ocean kind of initiators, but I do feel we are in the right direction with wonderful initiators happening across the board at multiple levels. And I think that's how you solve such a complex and large problem. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to our audience. From these discussions, we have understood few of the things very clearly. As ma'am mentioned, the architecture of the curriculum, how it should be planned, that is something very important to create a large-scale impact, because India is a larger country. We have to be more inclusive to make sure that it is reaching to everyone. From sir's point of view, very, very importantly, we have understood that career counseling and how you can integrate that in the employability generation, how you need to know what the industry is looking for, how you implement that in the students. That is also very important takeaway to think for. And also one of the major thing, those people who wants to create their own non-profit in the future, who wants to work in the district, in the far corner of the country, with a different kind of people, different language, I think they are most welcome to our research foundation as well. And from the mass perspective on and listen about government is taking initiative to create a large scale impact with the corporate partners. And also there are some hiccups, there are some friction that challenging situation we are facing because of the motivation. A lot of time we have talked about the motivation of the teacher, the motivation of the person who is building the skills. That is also something you have to take care of. Thank you very much for your time on the discussion. I believe it had given all the audience a nice insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.